Palantir's competition is largely misunderstood. There isn't a single name that goes head-to-head with PLTR, since Palantir is in a league of its own, with the products it offers, the value those provide, the CEO it has, and his hair. That said, it is not the only company to leverage vast amounts of data for problem solving on many levels. In this video, I'm going to outline how, in the long term, Google and its development of its artificial intelligence could be the greatest threat that Palantir faces. I got this video idea after talking with JG from Beyond Our Money recently. Shout out to his channel. Today, I'm pulling from a few different sources to draw my own conclusions as to whether artificial general intelligence could spell the end of Palantir's business. Let's go. Overview. Palantir is a dystopian tech company that takes in mountains of data collected by governments and companies to enable users to spot hidden relationships, uncover criminal and terrorist networks, and anticipate future attacks. Palantir serves corporate and clandestine clients as the entity that, quote, enables our customers to transform massive amounts of information into knowledge that reflects their world. End quote. Palantir's offering blends artificial intelligence and action with a human operator. Palantir specifically isn't trying to replace human analysts, they're actually augmenting them. Here's a short video explaining Ava, an AI module to Palantir Gotham.
With the institutions tasked with global security, threats are now more complex, time pressures more extreme, resources more constrained. Effective prevention lives in data, but the exponential growth of data scale and complexity outpaces human capacity. Institutions and their experts simply don't have the time to keep up. The result is that analysts devote most of their time to sifting through the data and less time on the human analysis and decision making that keeps us safe. Enter Palantir Ava, the investigative assistant that unites artificial intelligence with the Palantir Gotham integrated data asset and ecosystem. Ava automates parts of the search and discovery process, using artificial intelligence to offload an institution's known yet technically complex tasks. With Ava, institutions become proactive with their data, so that analysts are empowered, leads aren't missed, and intelligence never stops. In this instance, we're investigating arms trafficking and are subscribed to cases with hundreds of subjects and companies. In the Ava inbox, we receive alerts on all of those cases, at a scale that would be time prohibitive to tackle manually. One Ava alert shows a report came in last night that my subject Kaylee Accomplice is sending suspicious and structured payments to a company abroad. Ava also ran entity extraction on this document, automatically detecting of-interest objects and identifiers like bank accounts, phone numbers, addresses, and the name of the company, Sinfal Limited. With Ava, we can quickly structure and tag the document to build our case. Ava then discovers a relevant connection from a different integrated dataset in Gotham. The company shares its phone number with a known organisation, Fentrix International, that's on a watch list of suspected nuclear material importers. Confirming this connection, we return to the Ava inbox to find a geo-alert related to Sinfal Limited. It's registered to the same building as the consulate of a country that's seeking to build a nuclear weapon. A country that's known to use shell companies just like these to evade international trade sanctions. Finally, Ava has another alert. Our subject sent multiple subpoenaed social media messages with the keyword uranium to Matt Rupert, a known international arms trafficker. This further enriches the intelligence related to the investigation. So, starting from a bank wire, Ava helped discover a subject and company likely implicated in a network to source materials for nuclear arms development. Today, Ava is deployed across governments to deliver thousands of previously unknown connections, from trafficking to money laundering to counter-terrorism, so that in the face of unprecedented data scale, global institutions can do their most important work, the human intelligence that keeps us safe.
Palantir Today. I found a great article by Will Orimus. I'm going to run through some excerpts as they provide key context to this conversation. For Palantir to realize its vision at scale, it has to automate the high-level processes of combining and converting vast, messy datasets into actionable insights. That's a very high bar for artificial intelligence, and one that Palantir isn't close to meeting just yet. Instead, like many of today's ambitious automation tools, Palantir's platform requires what one one intelligence community source called Rooms Full of People working behind the curtain to clean, label, and interpret the data. Palantir also sends employees what it calls forward-deployed engineers to work permanently on-site with clients, helping them tailor the platform to their needs. Palantir has won over big clients such as the US Army through white-glove customer service and consulting, plus a user interface much slicker and friendlier than the often outdated systems it seeks to replace. It has been helped along the way by clever sales tactics, Thiel's relationship with the Trump administration, and a willingness to lose piles of money in pursuit of future growth. In short, Palantir's solutions and operations remain partly human power. In other words, the advantage that Palantir has could also lead to its downfall if AI gets so good that no human operator is necessary and Palantir's system setup is hypothetically rendered obsolete. But there is a gray area between what AI is today and artificial general intelligence if it ever materializes in the future. Palantir knows that AI can detect patterns in data that humans cannot. After all, that's what its software platforms set out to achieve. In fact, PLTR allows for human and software symbiosis. This means that every link in the supply chain, inventory levels, supplier quality, demand forecasting, production planning, transportation management, and more, can all be revolutionized. Palantir's products provide an interim before AGI, but what happens when everything can be done automatically, when the right decisions can be made without question in no time via AI? More on that later. The comparison. As a business, Palantir is very different from Google. One provides free, heavily automated tools to the masses in exchange for data to power targeted ads. The other provides more expensive, labor-intensive data modeling tools and data consulting services on an exclusive basis to a limited number of huge organizations whose data it promises to keep private. Palantir CEO Alex Karp defines his company's value in opposition to Google's. In Palantir's S1 filing, he took an implicit shot at Google for walking away from its Project Maven military contract in response to employee backlash, while continuing to invade its own users' privacy. Our software is used to target terrorists and to keep soldiers safe. We have chosen sides. The core mission of our company always was to make the West, especially America, the strongest in the world, the strongest it's ever been, for the sake of global peace and prosperity. Google's aesthetic is sunny and whimsical, and its products often reflect a worldview that is optimistic to a fault. Its tools promise to put the world's information in everyone's hands for free. It speaks of information as empowering and democratizing, and implicitly assumes that people will use it for good. That's a convenient assumption for Google's business model, because a world in which information is unlikely to be abused is one in which people freely share their data, which can, in turn, be leveraged to show them relevant ads. If Palantir's world is zero-sum, Google's is win-win. Palantir runs on suspicion, Google on trust. The takeaway. Zoom out far enough, though, and Palantir and Google start to look like flip sides of the same coin. Ultimately, both promise to harness machine learning and computing power to bring together and organize disparate sources of information and make it searchable. The customers and revenue models are different, but the value proposition is the same: to allow people to quickly surface and synthesize information that would otherwise remain disjunct and obscure. That's one reason they so often compete for the same engineering talent. Early Palantir employees wore t-shirts that said, quote, "Google is our backup job," and while each might point fingers at the other, surveillance is integral to both models. In one, the customers are doing the surveilling. In the other, the customers are the ones being surveilled. Privacy theorists sometimes talk about the privacy through obscurity, the idea that the average person's everyday privacy resides not in a lack of available information about them, but in the difficulty of tracking it down. Google and Palantir think about risks and trade-offs very differently, with one insisting your data is safe in its hands, the other pledging to only track the bad guys on behalf of reputable clients. Yet by building tools to automate the integration of disparate data sources about people, both Google and Palantir are fundamentally anti-obscurity and, by extension, anti-privacy. If neither has yet built anything quite like the all-seeing stone from Lord of the Rings, it isn't for a lack of trying. Conclusion. Having given it some thought, I do now believe that the progression of artificial general intelligence by the likes of Google with all of its resources and power is a threat to be considered to the long term of Palantir. I'm sure many of you will disagree with me in the comments. Granted, upon first glance, Google is not a competitor to Palantir, but if you dig a little deeper, you realize the points in this video. I'm sharing my thoughts as a way to spur some discourse on the subject, considering this could be something that holds someone back from buying the stock and thus suppresses the potential price. I'll close by saying that I have little doubt that Palantir will be able to evolve over the coming decades to pivot, be that in developing its own advanced AI or creating such a strong brand network effect that it doesn't even matter. And if the day comes, PLTR should only be marginally affected. Again, it is important to stress AGI is not a near-term reality, but as shareholders, it is crucial to understand any impending material impacts, even if they are far off. Leave a like if you found this video insightful. Until next time.